What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you 3 recent returns that I just got back in the mail. And I'm going to profile each of those individuals and tell you about their playing careers. So the first return is from Florida, and it is a return from former Baltimore Oriole, among other teams, Jim Dwyer, on 4 of 4, including my Crown Coca-Cola all-time Orioles set. So let me tell you about Jim Dwyer and his career in baseball. Jim Dwyer, an Illinois native, grew up outside of Chicago where he attended high school, but later moved on to play college baseball at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. After his time at Carbondale, the left-handed hitting outfielder was selected in the 11th round by the St. Louis Cardinals, which is nearby Carbondale. It's only a couple hours away, in the 1971 draft in the 11th round. Well, I would say the Cardinals found a pretty good 11th round pick because he basically flew through the minor leagues. In 1971, in just 58 games, he posted a .313 batting average with 2 home runs for the Cardinals single-A affiliate. In 1972, he started the year in single A, but by the end of the year was in double A and appeared in 136 games for those 2 affiliates for the Cardinals and posted a .302 batting average. The following year, the Cardinals challenged him in the outfield at double A, and he appeared in 87 games and put a remarkable .387 batting average together for the Cardinals in 1973. Well, mid-1973, on June 10th, the Cardinals called him up to the major leagues and it made his major league debut. Unfortunately, his major league debut didn't go so well, and he actually had an 0 for 4 game that first day. So he would remain with the Cardinals for 28 games in the major leagues that year. And in 1974, the Cardinals would again split time with him between the majors and AAA. Well, in 1974, he posted a .279 batting average playing for the Cardinals part-time, and he was utilized as an outfielder / left-handed hitter off the bench. The following year, in 1975, was more of the same. He split time primarily in the major leagues with the Cardinals and also their AAA affiliate. However, on July 25th of 1975, the Cardinals traded him straight up to the Montreal Expos for Larry Lintz. Well, he would finish out the year with the Expos that season, and he would go into 1976 with the Expos. And after 50 games with the Expos, Jim would find himself again packing his bags as he was traded from the Expos to the New York Mets for Wayne Garrett and Del Unser. He would finish out the year playing for the Mets, and then after that season with the Mets, he was again traded to the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs couldn't find a place for him despite making that trade in 1977 and actually released him from his contract after batting .332 and hitting 18 home runs in their AAA affiliate. I don't understand that at all, why the Cubs would release a guy batting .330. Especially, this is a guy that's from the Chicago area, so you'd think that he'd be very loyal to the Chicago Cubs, but the Cubs weren't loyal to him back. Well, the Cubs released him before the end of the 1977 season, and so the St. Louis Cardinals signed him again. So he actually finished the 1977 season with the St. Louis Cardinals, even though the Cubs originally had him in their AAA affiliate most of the year. Well, Jim went back in 1978 with the Cardinals to start the year, and again, he found himself on the trade wire on June 15th of 1978. Jim became the guy that was known as the player to be named later. Previously, in October of 1977, the Cardinals traded with the San Francisco Giants for pitcher Frank Michelli. Well, the Giants said, hey, we want Jim Dwyer to be the player to be named later, and Jim found himself playing for the San Francisco Giants. So that's him as a Giant right there. So Jim spent that entire 1978 season with the Giants, appeared in 73 games for them, posting a respectable batting average that year. However, the Giants decided not to re-sign him, and he went free agent and signed with the Boston Red Sox. At this point in Jim's career, he was not the primary outfielder or anything like that. He was more of a left-handed hitter, a bat off the bench. He spent 2 seasons with Boston, and then in 1981 signed as a free agent with the Baltimore Orioles. Well, Jim would play for the Orioles all the way through the 1988 season after signing with them in 1981. Well, at the age of 38 years old, Jim was again traded by the Baltimore Orioles to the Minnesota Twins on August 29th, 1988. He would finish out that year with the Twins in 1988 and then would re-sign with them for the 1989 season as well. Well, in 1989, he would start the year with the Twins. However, they decided to trade him back to a team that he played for before, to the Montreal Expos. Well, again, Jim found himself going north of the border, but this didn't last long because in 1990, the Montreal Expos decided to trade him back to the Minnesota Twins. So I don't know if you followed that. The Expos got him from the Twins, and then he got traded back to the Twins. Well, this is important, talking about the Twins. So we'll come back to that in a second. So after Jim finally retired, he was 40 years old, his last game in the major leagues in 1990. He played 18 years in the major leagues as a player, okay? And that's not counting the 3 other years in the minor leagues and plus his college baseball years. So after an 18-year major league career, Jim played a season in the senior league, as you can see there, but he also got involved with coaching with the Minnesota Twins. So almost immediately after he hung up his cleats as a player, he began coaching in the minor leagues. He coached all the way up to the AA affiliate through 1995 with the Twins, and then became the minor league roving hitting coordinator from 1997 to 2005 with the Twins. This is actually where I actually met him once. I saw him at a minor league affiliate of the Twins in person, and I had him sign a couple cards for me, actually. In 2006, Dwyer became the hitting coach of the single A affiliate. He got back in the dugout in 06. He retired in 2016 after 11 seasons as a coach with the Fort Myers Miracle. So he basically moved to Florida for 11 years and coached there for 11 seasons until his retirement, which is where he's residing today. So I don't know if Jim's still involved with the Minnesota Twins. It wouldn't surprise me that he doesn't show up for spring training for them occasionally, but I am so happy to add Jim to the collection for my all-time Orioles set. Again, like I said, I saw him in person many, many years ago, probably in the early 2000s, but that was before I had this set. Otherwise, I would have had him sign it. So I'm happy to get another Senior League card and also another all-time Orioles card for my set. So we'll move on to the next return. So if you were impressed with Jim's career, let me tell you about this next guy who also had a career that lasted multiple decades in baseball. So it is a return from former Pittsburgh Pirate at a very young age, Milt May, on 2 cards. I actually sent him 4 cards total, and he only signed the 2, which is fine. Maybe 2's the limit. I don't know. But I'm very happy that he at least signed the rookie card, because I plan on sending that to Ed Acosta as well and asking him to sign it. You can kind of see that he signed it in ballpoint ink, so not necessarily the nicest signature in that pen, but at least he signed it in a white spot on the card, so you can at least see that it is signed. So let me tell you about Milt May and his long career in baseball as well. A Florida native, Milt was selected as an infielder originally in the 11th round of the 1968 draft by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Milt was a left-handed hitting batter that played infield, and he was such a good handler of pitchers that the Pirates decided to convert him to a catcher. Milt was just 17 years old when he was assigned to the Pirates rookie ball affiliate, when he made the change, moving up through the system of the ranks of the Pirates. He just spent 3 seasons in the minor leagues before in 1970, at just 19 years old, he got his major league debut facing the Chicago Cubs in 1 at-bat. He finished out that year in 1970, primarily in AAA, but got 5 at-bats in the major leagues that year. Well, the following year in 1971, he made the club out of spring training. He was primarily used as the backup catcher, and Manny Sanguillen was kind of manning the position at the time, and he would go on to be part of the 1971 World Series championship, Pittsburgh Pirates, and he also delivered in the World Series in the 7th inning of Game 4 of that series. His pinch hit single drove in Bob Robertson, which brought the Pirates to a 4-3 victory that game. Well, as many of you are aware, during the late 1972 season, after the season ended, Roberto Clemente died in his tragic plane crash, and the Pirates decided, hey, we're going to make Milt our full-time catcher, going into 1973, and we're going to try Manny Sanguillen in the outfield. Well, the project with Manny Sanguillen didn't really work out, to say it nicely, and they decided to move Manny back to behind the plate, and because of that move behind the plate, Milt finished out the year with the Pirates, kind of as the backup catcher again behind Manny, and the Pirates decided to trade him after that season to the Houston Astros, who were needing a catcher because their aging veteran catcher Johnny Edwards was basically getting to the point where he couldn't catch every day. So in 1974, Milt got the shot to be the full-time catcher for the Houston Astros. He actually responded with an excellent season, batting .289 and hitting 7 home runs, while again being a left-handed bat in that lineup. 1975 was more of the same. He appeared in 111 games as the full-time catcher primarily for the Astros. After that 75 season concluded, the Astros decided to trade him to the Detroit Tigers. Well, unfortunately, in 1976, they had intentions on having him be the full-time catcher for the Tigers, but he broke his ankle very early on in the season and was only able to appear in 6 games total for that 76 season. He recovered in 1977 to basically be the full-time catcher for the Tigers, but by 1978, there was a young up-and-coming rookie named Lance Parrish on the radar for the Detroit Tigers. So in 1978, he was kind of platooned with Parrish, and after that 78 season, he was back with Detroit kind of in a backup role going into 1979 before they decided to trade him to the Chicago White Sox, who basically bought him outright from the Tigers. So with the White Sox, he finished out the year appearing in 65 games in a part-time role with the White Sox. After the year completed with the White Sox, he went to the San Francisco Giants as a free agent. With the Giants, his first season, Milt actually appeared in 111 games for the Giants, primarily being their main catcher, batting .260 that year. 1981 would be more of a platoon role for Milt. He would appear in 97 games, but he would post a .310 batting average that year behind the plate for the Giants. Well, in 1982, he primarily won the starting spot back, and he appeared in 114 games for the Giants that year in 82. Well, by the time 1983 rolled around, age was catching up with the catcher, and he again was in a platoon role, appearing in 66 games for the Giants that year. After the 83 season almost concluded on August 19th, the Giants decided to trade him back to where it all began, the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he finished out the 83 season, catching 7 games for the Pirates. He returned in 1984 with the Pirates. And after that season in 1984, he as well hung up the cleats like Jim Dwyer, and for a little while was retired there, and then became the coach under newly elected Hall of Famer Jim Leyland for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He would serve 10 seasons as the hitting coach for the Pirates from 1987 to 1996. Well, as many of you know, the Pirates were pretty stacked back then, especially in the early 90s. He didn't help lead the Pirates to the World Series, but he had an excellent team with Bobby Bonilla, Barry Bonds, Andy Van Slyke, etc., Jay Bell, on down the list. And ironically, after the 96 season, he would follow Jim to the Florida Marlins and win his World Series title with the Florida Marlins. So he was on the 1971 Pirates as a world champion, and then many, many years later was part of the 1997 Florida Marlins team that won the World Series. He would hold this position through 1998 with the Marlins. He then spent the first half of the 99 season with the Tampa Bay Rays, another expansion team, and was then later named the Colorado Rockies pitching coach. So you don't hear it too often, but a catcher that became a pitching coach. After that season as the pitching coach of the Rockies, May was a scout for the Rockies in 2000 and spent 2001 as a minor league roving instructor for the Pirates. Even as late as 2019, Milt was still coaching in the GCL for the Baltimore Orioles organization. So I don't know if Milt has yet retired, but he's pretty darn close to being retired, I would imagine, from baseball. But this is a guy that was super young when he got up to the major leagues, got a chance at 21 years old to win a World Series, and the guy has had a lifetime in baseball. I've talked about many guys like this, like Jim Dwyer as well, going back to him. Imagine the books and the stories that those guys could tell. So thank you very much, Mr. May, and we'll move on to the next return. All right, so this final return is a return from Illinois, and it is a return, and I'm happy to get this one back, from former Chicago Cubs outfielder Gene Heiser. And as you can see, I got Earl Stephenson already on that card, and I will post Earl Stephenson's video down at the bottom if you guys want to watch that return. But I also sent a blank version of the rookie card to Gene Heiser. And now I'm hoping that I can send these two to Bert Hooton and hopefully get him to sign them as well, because Bert Hooton is probably the most well-known person on that card, because Hooton was a long-time major leaguer for a long time, starting out with the Cubs. So let me tell you about Gene Heiser and his career in baseball. Gene Heiser, a Maryland native, was selected by the Chicago Cubs with the 19th overall pick in the 1970 draft out of the University of Maryland. As a first-round pick of the Cubs immediately tested him and placed him in their AAA affiliate at just 21 years old, and Gene responded by batting a respectable .250 in 66 games his first professional season. The left-handed hitting outfielder did split some time between AAA and Single A because he had a military obligation, actually. So he missed some time in 1971, between 1970 and 71, because of his obligation in the military. So after his return from the military, the Cubs did promote him to the major leagues, and on August 20th, 1971, he made his major league debut with his first at-bat. Didn't get a hit in his first at-bat. 71, he did finish out the year with the Cubs, appearing in 17 games in the major leagues at Wrigley Field. However, in 1972, he was split some time between AAA. He primarily played in AAA. He batted .282 and hit 10 home runs that year. So the Cubs did bring him up for 32 games that year, also for the team. Well, the following year in 73, one of the outfield spots was primarily his. He appeared in 100 games that year in 1973 for the Cubs. But Gene just couldn't put it together where his batting average was just .174 that year. Well, in 74, the Cubs decided to send him back down to AAA for a little more seasoning. At this point, he was only 25 years old, and he appeared in 107 games that year for the Cubs in AAA, but he did get called back up for 12 games with the Cubs in the major leagues. Well, 1975 was more of the same. He split time this time, appearing in 72 games in AAA for the Cubs, and also 45 games in 1975 for the Cubs in the major leagues. When 1976 rolled around, Gene started out with the Cubs. However, they decided to sell his contract to the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox didn't bring him across town. Instead, they assigned him to their AAA affiliate, the Iowa Oaks, where he would finish out the season with the Iowa Oaks. After the conclusion of that 76 season, the White Sox decided to release him from his contract. I don't have any stats for Gene. So after he was released by the White Sox, Gene returned to the Chicago area, and he actually played for the Chicago Storm in 1977, which was a professional slow-pitch softball league. his former teammate, Milt Pappas, was actually the manager of this team, and he came and played softball for Milt Pappas in that 77 season. Well, Gene tried to make a comeback in baseball in 1978, and he went all the way through spring training with them. However, towards the end of spring training, Gene was released from his contract from the Orioles and did not play in professional baseball again. After his baseball career was over, Gene went back and worked for an insurance company in the Chicago area as an agent. And then by 1983, he, along with another agent, formed a company called Barrett and Heiser Financial Group, located in Schaumburg, Illinois. So after Gene's career, he got into financial management and insurance, and had an illustrious career in that area of work after he was, in his late 20s, and did that, I'm guessing, maybe still doing it to this day, or he's retired at this point. So in Gene's case, he had a successful career after his playing career. In the case of both Jim Dwyer and Milt May, let's try to get these on here so we can show them all together without a glare. But in the case of Milt May and Jim Dwyer, both of them were lifetime baseball guys. Were very super young when they got to the major leagues, and then had an opportunity to turn their talents on the field into the dugout, being roving instructors and managers and hitting coaches for many, many years. So thank you to Gene, Milt, and Jim for signing my cards. I hope you learned a little bit about some guys you may not have known about in the 1970s. I look forward to your comments below, and as always, happy collecting.